February 14th, actually Wednesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. I don't know why I associate that with a Tuesday. It just seems like a Tuesday kind of holiday. Happy Valentine's Day from the Plant-Based Morning Show, from the Outlier Health Podcast, which is what we now are. I've been getting the episodes up nice and on time. So get over to that Outlier Health Podcast if you are a live listener, and you'll hear them at the same time, or basically same day. So that's a win. You could even stop coming live if you want, but you shouldn't do that. We want you live. Adds to the liveliness of the show. And looks like I went live on my personal Instagram again. So hello, high school friends, maybe even a high school teacher. We'll see. All right. Doug is now here.
Hey, Matt. Good. It's going well. Happy Valentine's Day to you and to all of our lovely listeners.
Yes. Thank you. You too, Doug. Any big plans for today? You mentioned yesterday some sort of family event tonight.
Yeah, my mom's gonna come over. All the ladies who are an active part of my life are gonna be here. So we'll have a nice little Valentine's Day dinner. Surprised everyone with flowers this morning, so that was nice.
What kind of burritos are you cooking up?
We're doing chili. No burritos tonight.
Okay. You'll still get some chili powder in there.
Oh yeah.
Some
definitely.
Cumin. The traditional Tex-Mex spices will be in
might
there.
even put it inside a tortilla, or I'll definitely have tortilla chips.
Maybe serve over a bed of rice, perhaps. Sprinkle with some cheese and wrap it up. Okay, good.
Then we're good to go.
Great. Good.
It's chili, but it's also a burrito. Kind of best of all worlds there.
All right, good. Well, I was mistaken yesterday when I said that we had 2 soccer practices to go to. We only have 1. So because of that, we will manage some sort of good dinner. Just maybe eaten in segments, but we'll see. Should be a good time.
Just eaten individually. Will you all go to the soccer practice together? That's the question.
No, we won't do that because our friends, my wife's aunt and uncle, are coming back today. So we'll have guests. We can't be doing that. Even if they weren't, I don't know if we'd still all go to practice. It's just, why send 2 people to that job when one person can get it done? All right. Mr. Jeffrey points out that's a lot of beans for Valentine's Day, Doug. That is a good point, Mr. Jeffrey. It's not the most romantic of foods, maybe chili, but if you cook it right, you do it well, any food could be romantic, even the humble chili. Good morning, Mr. Jeffrey, Kelly K, Allie, Britters, Matt O'Connor, Annie Amato, who I haven't seen in a little while, D1 to Know Adventure Coach. Good morning, everybody. For those keeping track, I had a passable sleep last night. I slept about 7 hours in 8 hours in bed. So
okay. When was that decent hour of non-sleep?
It was spread in the beginning of the night. I had a little bit of trouble getting to sleep, and then I had like a half an hour maybe of wake up time in the night. So that's really not so bad. Doug has walked away.
That's not too bad. I'm back.
No, it isn't. Compared to what was happening the last week and the week before that, it feels like I have my life back a little bit. So it's been 2 nights in a row of like pretty good sleep. I have avoided alcohol the past 2 nights. So significant data point, maybe. I've been sort of in denial that would actually make a difference with sleep, but 2 for 2 so far in it helping. So we'll see.
We don't talk very much about alcohol these days, but I have significantly reduced the amount of alcohol I drink.
You told me that. I think that's probably why we don't talk about it as much.
I guess not. Yeah.
But that's good. That's fantastic. I'd love to reduce more than I wouldn't say I have. I did, and then I went back to normal again. Mm-hmm. I really like the weekend drinking, and not as a strict rule, like don't drink on weeknights, do on weekends. But that amount, that rhythm, that'd be pretty good. I'd enjoy it.
Yeah. And same. Like I think that's a great rhythm, and I don't ever have any plans to give up alcohol entirely, and I'm just not something that is appealing to me at the moment, because I think it's
just too good.
It's too good, and I don't know, and I like the social aspect. I like all the things about alcohol. Except for I just have really enjoyed not drinking nearly as much of it, and I like the way that makes me feel too. So,
Yep, definitely. So we'll see. I hope, like I said, to join you in drinking less, especially if I found out that fixed my sleep. I mean, no questions asked. I would just be done drinking. Maybe not forever, because my thinking is, you have a drink it now and then, it won't set me into a bad pattern. But I think if alcohol is to blame for my sleep problems, it's because I'm predisposed to bad sleep. A little bit of drinking, causes a little bit of wake up, leads me to sleep in later, leads to the conditioning of the wrong sleep patterns, and then I've suddenly got 11-hour times in beds where I'm only sleeping 6 hours. Right. So that's, you can imagine it be okay. But like I said, I'd be happy to stop drinking if it helped me sleep. Britter says she's been sober for 4 years now and sleep like a rock. No hate to those who enjoy it, though. I saw she put yesterday that she is a non-drinker. And despite all that coffee, all the baratza, I don't know how much she drinks after she grinds it with her baratza, but it's obviously not affecting her sleep. So there you go. What else, Doug? Anything else before we jump in? We do have kind of a long weather report and then an interesting topic today. So might not hurt to just jump in. Should we do it?
Well, I just want to say that if you attended live, thank everybody who attended live to the webinar last night with Dr. Khan. That was a big success, I would say.
Good.
Several hundred people joined us live, which was cool. You can still watch the replay. You go to that same link, nomeathlete.com/con-energy.
Yep.
You can sign up and we'll send you the replay. But yeah, it was very good. Good conversation about sleep, about energy, about all kinds of all that stuff. And alcohol. They talked a little bit about alcohol.
I think we talked about alcohol when Khan was on our morning show that one day. Yeah, he's an alcohol drinker. He does drink alcohol. I think he recommends a small amount, but I've seen him hold up a bottle of Italian wine when he was on stage at the vegan cruise and said, this can be good for you, or can be part of a healthy life. And that's good. I like to hear that.
Cool.
All right, good. Let's jump in. We got some good stuff today, starting off just in time for Valentine's Day. Peta has announced that in Baltimore, Charm City, today at noon, which is only 50 minutes from now, there's going to be a couple in bed on Charles Plaza, which I don't know exactly where that is. I know where Charles Street is. I think I know where Charles Plaza is. And it's a bed, and it is adorned with messages that says, "Vegans make better lovers." And then the Peta logo. And it's two people that appear to be, I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure what parts they're covering up or what if they're naked underneath. The guy at least has no shirt on. They both have hearts over their torsos. So who knows what they're wearing. But yeah, and they're just there hanging out, I guess. And they're giving out Lindt chocolates. So that's kind of good. I don't know if they don't say anything about passing out literature or anything, but we just saw yesterday this news about the prostate for male prostate cancer patients. I guess that's all prostate cancer patients. They have improved sexual health and I think urinary function. So if they eat a plant-based diet compared to a heavy animal diet. So that's good. Kind of backs up what we already knew about plant-based diets. Peta does mention that here. They say animal-derived products can clog the arteries to every organ, not just the heart. So that is how they deal with that issue. So hopefully that will be discussed at the bed. But it's just a little weird, this bed scene in Baltimore City. I don't know. It's just,
I mean, that's the point, though, right? I mean, it's supposed to be weird.
That is the point.
This couple in bed in the middle of the street,
right? And that's what Peta does. They do weird, attention-getting things. You I feel like nowadays with the conversation being so charged between vegans and carnivores, it just seems like it's a way to like get in a fight or something, or just like asking for an incident to happen. And maybe they don't mind if an incident does happen, as long as nobody's actually harmed.
Better press.
Exactly.
More press.
It might be better, but it just seems, I don't know. You just go in the city and do that, start pushing your diet on people. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be the one doing that.
Yeah. I'm glad we brought this up, Matt, because I was so disappointed as I was making the thumbnail yesterday that we didn't save the erections story for Valentine's Day. It would have been a perfect fit.
It would have been a perfect fit. I wonder if they timed that research to come out. But it is all over the news today. It was a little early yesterday.
It is.
Yeah, okay. Today everybody's got it. So we scooped that one. All right. Moving on. We've been excited about cultivated meat, saying maybe it's the solution to this whole UPF processed fake meats thing that we're going to talk about later today. But some bad news. I wasn't aware of the first part of this news. The newest part of the news is that cultivated meat company Upside Foods, their partnership with Bar Kren in San Francisco. That's Dominique Kren's Michelin star chef. She's a Michelin star chef. That's one of her locations. That has come to an end, that partnership. They're no longer serving the cultivated meat there. It had been available to 16 people per month in 1 ounce portions, which is very similar to what was happening at the Jose Andres restaurant, Chino Chicano in Washington, D.C. That one has also, it's been pulled there, the cultivated chicken from, I think that's Good Meat's version of it. That's been pulled. So it's hard to tell if this was like planned and, they got to kind of keep things fresh and keep the menu changing for whatever this small, expensive experience is. I don't know. So the Upside Food says, we've wrapped up our dinner series and are taking our chicken on the road. They've teased that they're working hard on next gen, larger scale products pending regulatory approval. But the article writes, this is sort of the latest blow to the cultivated meat industry. So
who's saying it's the latest blow? Like, is that the article is kind of
fooddive.com, which is like an industry thing, and they're not against cultivated meat largely. They're just impartial from what I can tell.
Yeah, I would love to know if they couldn't sell 16 portions a month, because that would be pretty bad. You'd think that a party of 4, just a couple of parties of 4 who all wanted to give it a try would wipe you out pretty quickly. So I wonder if this is planned or what. But
it's just hard to imagine if it was just a smashing success. It's hard to imagine that it would just be gone from both restaurants with no real word about what's next. No hype, like it's going away, but it's gonna come back in this larger form, full menu in a few months. Like I don't know. It just kind of sounds like a quiet shuttering of a trial. And we've seen a few of those, so I know what they look like.
Looking at you, Taco Bell nacho cheese.
Yes, and Panda Express Beyond
Panda
Orange
Express and KFC nuggets.
The list goes on and on. It's hard. I mean, is it possible that they were shocked at how little people wanted this or how much skepticism people viewed this with? Well, I mean, they of course they would have done market research and found that there was some sort of appetite for this, but maybe the climate has shifted so fast, the political and this whatever you call this ideological climate has shifted so fast that like suddenly people have gone totally off against all unnatural foods, and they're saying this is the most unnatural foods in some way. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of what happened.
I just I don't know because these are two restaurants that aren't cheap, right? Yeah. Like they're kind of high end restaurants in 2 random cities. Like there couldn't have been that much PR around this, right? Like, I mean, we talked about it when it happened, but do you think that your average person in DC has any idea that this is available?
No, probably not. Yeah.
So, which is different than the nacho cheese or whatever, where it's like plastered all over their menu, and that kind of thing. It's the kind of, it's an upscale restaurant. So I just if this is how they're trying to roll it out and convince people that it's worth trying and all that stuff, it's not, I mean, they're not going to have that much success, right? So, but surely they can get 16 people to try it a month. I would think it's only been a couple months available. 2 of the people who would try it are talking right now, and I imagine some of our audience would as well. So,
you're right. Yeah, there are a lot of people who would try it, right? I mean, so it seems a little strange, and it's not like high end restaurants is the ultimate use case for this. Right. So maybe it truly was just a trial that ended, and that was the first phase, and now there's more coming. So we'll see. Who knows? Obviously, lots of investment going into it, and lots of legal talk about it. So it's a big deal. It's not going away yet by any means. But I don't know. We'll see. All right, on to some familiar type of news. Revo Foods and their plant-based salmon. They've been sued, but in Austria, and a court there has dismissed the lawsuit. It was brought by the Vienna City Council, and it was based on the labeling of their plant-based salmon. The lawsuit claimed that the product, which is named Revo Salmon 100% plant-based with pea protein, could mislead consumers into thinking it contained real salmon. But of course, the court rejected it. I put the picture here in the plan, Doug. We didn't have it on the thing. You could share it if you wanted, but
I'm trying to pull it up, but it's not. For some reason, it's not showing that screen.
Okay.
But I will pull it up.
Yeah, not a huge deal. I mean, we can read it. It says in large print, Revo Salmon, with no asterisk or qualifiers or anything in that font anyway. Right below it, in a font that's maybe a fifth of the size, it says 100% plant-based with pea protein. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, to me, you kind of could miss this. And I can't believe we haven't asked this before. Is the customer expected to read every word on the front of the package?
No.
No, right? So if you read you're supposed to read the largest thing. How much are you expected to read after that? I don't know. It says salmon. It looks like salmon. There's a little window to see the picture of you see the product through there.
There's pictures of fish.
There are pictures of fish. It does say plant-based and vegan at the bottom in a little banner kind of ribbon thing. I mean,
And there's a vegan logo thing on the right.
I don't even see that.
The yellow. Oh, you might. Oh, you're looking at a different one. I have one on the screen. This is from the website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, right. Like, this is the problem that I was kind of complaining about the other day when I was in the grocery store and I was looking for something, and I just like, you read Revo Salmon and you see salmon, right? You don't see the 100% plant-based pea protein. Like, if you're just scanning the aisle or whatever, like, that's what you see. Of course, if you dig a little deeper, it's pretty obvious. It says it everywhere that it's plant-based, that it's vegan, made with pea protein. Like, but I do understand why people will have some problem, and that's why I think that the, like, chicken misspelled, or all that kind of things that people do, that just misspell it or put a little apostrophe, like, that catches you a little bit. It's just way more obvious that, like, it doesn't actually say the word chicken and it says chick-in. It's just way more obvious that this is something a little bit different. So I kind of get it. I kind of get the problem.
Yeah. To me, like, there shouldn't be any word of the package that you could read and say, based on what I just read in that word or two, I think this is meat. Like, it says salmon, and it's not that. You could say it's a fish-like substance, or a apostrophe in the word salmon somehow. But it says it is salmon, and that's weird to me. I know when it says burger, it's a little different. When it says sausage, even that's maybe different, because you could make a sausage out of veggies, perhaps, depending on your definition. But it's salmon, that's fish.
See, I think there's a difference between, like the name of an animal, right? Chicken, right? Salmon, versus something like bacon or sausage or burger, that is more milk, that is talking about a type of thing, is very different than naming an actual animal. Yeah.
So you have to imagine there'll be some lines drawn there, and they'll in different countries are going to do different things, obviously, but they'll say what terms like that are okay. Then you get some, like, beef. That's not the name of an animal anymore. That is now the name of a food that comes from animals. So can you have plant-based beef? I don't know. Yeah, I think so. But I would assume wherever the line is drawn, the actual name of the animal, it's probably going to be on the omnivore side of that line, not the vegan side, in my opinion. So I think, I don't know. I don't know why they so quickly threw this one out. Maybe because it's Austria and people are very pro-vegan right now over there, it seems. So anyway, I'm sure we'll have many more of these stories to come. They always pop up. But that's the latest. Califia Farms, who we know as I don't know if they're new to the plant-based milk space. I know they've had it recently. I'm not sure how new they are.
They're not new.
They've always been doing plant-based milks for a long time.
I think so. For a long time, yeah.
Well, anyway, they've got a new one now that is designed to match the nutritional profile of dairy milk with 50% less sugar. So blend of chickpea, fava bean, pea protein. They're trying to match amino acids here. They have 9 grams of protein, all 9 essential amino acids. And, kind of interesting, I guess, that they're actually trying to match milk here, because we're constantly reading about how if you were to drink plant milk and replace your dairy milk with it directly, you're going to be losing out on some nutrients. So they're, I guess, trying to get in front of that criticism.
Yeah.
All right. Salva Ingredients, a Brazilian startup, has just raised a bunch of money. The only thing that's interesting about this is that it is for cultivated pork fat, which they say they can grow in 21 days, not 24 months like traditional pork fat takes. And the other part of this that I like, the reason I included this is because it relates to our later discussion. Their fats can be customized to be healthier through a non-GMO modulation process. That means less saturated fat, and anti-inflammatory, antioxidative, and better digestibility features. So, oh, by the way, they're also developing oils and olive oils using plant cells. So they're doing what we talked about yesterday, which is cultivating of plant foods, just growing them in a faster, more efficient format, and one that allows them to mess with the nutrition of them. I mean, I don't know. Like, at first, this sounds awful. It sounds like I mean, it does say non-GMO, but I mean, whenever I've heard about this stuff before, like it is genetic modification. That's the way that they are doing the precision fermentation stuff. This must be different because it's cultivated meat. And for those who don't know, cultivated means cell cultivated, where they're taking the actual pig cells to start this fat growing process. I don't know, like you start messing with that and you make it in some way better than actual animal fat as far as health goes, at least sort of up close. Is this good though, Doug? Like, is this the path towards like the ultimate science domination of nutrition, and like it has actually figured out how to make food healthy, or is this just like another dead end and industry getting their hands too much in the food?
I don't know. Great question. I think that I do see this as the future of cultivated meat and cultivated animal products in general, is them kind of bioengineering a version that's a little bit healthier and cleaner, and they can kind of tweak the recipe to be that. And I guess you have that with well, you don't really have that, but when you go to the store and you grab ground beef or whatever, you have the different fat ratios,
right?
So you can kind of choose that. But I don't know. I mean, I think the more they do this, the more problems they're going to run into in the future of people just wanting the natural thing. So, I don't know. Hard to say. Yeah,
it is. Well, we'll revisit that in a minute in the context of plant-based meats, the non-cultivated kind. But let's get this weather report done. It's Valentine's Day, so we got another cocoa update. Yesterday, I told you that the prices were really high. In this case, 65% higher than they were just a year ago. It's a 46-year high. I think I had said 70 years. I don't know what stat I saw. But anyway, they're saying the prices aren't necessarily, this price impact is not going to be felt by consumers who buy chocolate until likely Thanksgiving or Christmas, which I would imagine there's a ramp up in chocolate purchases around Christmas. And that's because, the inventory, the products are already made, they're on shelves. So this most recent spike is not going to affect costs in a little while. But after that, they're saying rather than this expert Spooner, I don't know his first name, Matt Spooner, who apparently is an expert in this stuff, he thinks they're going to actually reformulate products or downsize the products and otherwise change the ingredients so they don't have to raise the prices too much. So you'll be able to still get a Hershey bar for whatever a Hershey bar costs, $1.50, I don't know. But it's going to be smaller. So that could be good. People are going to eat less chocolate, maybe, per dollar.
Less sugar.
Maybe. Sugar, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Chocolate is a health food, right? By itself.
Well, I mean, if you're eating a Hershey bar, I guess Hershey bar is, but if you're eating a Snickers or something like that, I don't know that chocolate's, the cocoa is really the problem.
True.
I went into CVS yesterday. I was trying to buy some of those like little candy vegan heart things for the girls today. I thought, they taste terrible, but I thought it'd be a fun little Valentine's Day thing.
Yeah, that is fun. Yeah.
And and CVS had changed all of their chocolates, all of their, everything over to Easter already. And so you couldn't, I mean, there was like a tiny little bin of like Hershey hearts or something like that, maybe Kisses or something that isn't vegan that I didn't get. But I was disappointed. They're already on Easter mode.
Why would they turn it over? Isn't that that's got to be the biggest sales day of the year, is the day before, not the biggest Valentine's sales day of the Valentine's season must be the day before Valentine's Day when everyone's rushing to get the stuff.
I don't know. Maybe they were already out.
Maybe they underestimated, ran out way too early, and then they said, we just got to shift to Easter.
Mm-hmm. But I couldn't get candy hearts.
Couldn't get candy hearts. Man, you're like one of those dads in that Turbo Man movie, Jingle All the Way, where you can't get the right stuff for the holiday, and you turn out to be a disappointing father.
I know.
Wow.
Had to opt for locally grown tulips instead.
That's good. It's very nice. I heard a joke with tulips as the punchline. What kind of flowers give kisses on Valentine's Day or something? Tulips.
Tulips. That's good.
I think that's not quite a joke, but it's something like that. Okay, last bit of news here. There's been another vegan restaurant closing. Not closing. Adding of meat and dairy to the menu. I don't know how often this is actually happening. It was a big news, I think, last week. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Now it's happened again in Richmond at Fresca on Addison. I'm guessing this is happening more than just the times we're hearing it reported. I'm also guessing that whoever, told the press about this maybe saw the opportunity to get a bunch of attention like the guy did last week.
Yeah.
He did. And maybe the newspaper saw the opportunity to get their story picked up, so they wanted to write about it. I don't know, because it doesn't really sound that newsworthy to me that a vegan restaurant has added meat and dairy. But it has happened again. It's a place that was vegan. They're keeping the vegan menu, but to their pizzas, and they have some pizzas in a brick oven, they're adding meat options such as pepperoni and sausage, as well as dairy cheese. And they do plan on adding some sandwiches and things like that. So there you go. More evidence that there's a kind of a shift going on. And maybe towards one that's a little less separated, and there's vegans and omnivores mixing happily, and all restaurants have lots of options for each. Who knows? That's
Everyone
the
holding
positive.
hands, singing "Kumbaya."
Maybe.
Around a half vegan menu. I got a question for you, Matt.
Okay. What do you got?
I want you to. We're gonna do a little role playing here.
Okay. Great.
You're a vegan restaurant owner.
Okay.
You've been you've had this restaurant for 3 years, struggling to get business, but you have your loyal vegan customers. You're known around town as the vegan restaurant spot.
Mm-hmm.
And you're happy with that and you like that, but you just can't keep it afloat. You feel like you're forced, your hand has been forced to add meat and dairy to the menu, or shutter the doors entirely. And you don't want to do that because you love your restaurant, you love your customers.
Right.
Okay. So here you are, you've made the decision, you're going to add meat and dairy. Are you going to keep the same restaurant, or why not just like rebrand? Because everybody knows you as the vegan restaurant, right? So like your omnivore people aren't going to aren't going to get stoked on your restaurant because they think of it's the vegan restaurant, and they've always ignored that restaurant. So what if you just rebranded? You can keep the decor, you can keep pretty much everything. We just have a new name now. You have a new menu that's still mostly vegan, but includes some of this other stuff. And people think, oh, hey, there's this new pizza spot. Let's go try it out. And it turns out it's just real vegan friendly. That's what I would do. I would rebrand. I wouldn't become a vegan restaurant that adds meat and dairy. I would become a new restaurant.
I like that, Doug. I think that's great advice. Fantastic financial planning advice. Financial fiduciary advice from you. So anyone who is involved in restaurants should listen to that advice, I think. I actually agree. I think you might attract the omnivore customers who you might have had trouble getting before, because they just still, even if they heard about it, adding meat, a few options, it's not going to be that exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to get omnivores this way, not many of them, but you would with a rebrand. Would you lose your vegan customers by rebranding? I don't think so, because they would just show up to eat and then realize it's a new restaurant. They'd look at the menu and they'd say, oh, okay, they still have a lot of vegan stuff. I'll still eat here. Except for a few who wouldn't, because there's omnivore food there now, but they wouldn't have come back anyway. Yeah. So, I think you're right. I think it's totally right. You should email these people and ask to do marketing consulting for them. Tell them you'll write their emails too. Sell services.
Maybe I have a whole new business. Maybe I leave the plant-based morning show, start a whole new business of converting vegan restaurants into omnivore restaurants.
Yeah, there you go.
I'd be banned from everyone. Everyone would hate me.
Hey, listen, I wouldn't. If you made it to the omnivores and vegans more peacefully coexisted, I'm good with that.
Okay.
I also, you also might get less hate from your former vegan clientele, because some of them might not realize that you were the same one and all you did was, change sides a little bit. Went soft in the spine and just decided to start having meat at your restaurant. Because this guy says it's been difficult to stay in business selling only vegan. It's been a moment of deep reflection and decision making. We wouldn't be able to pay our staff, but he did say that they were getting some flack from some of the people.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah.
People were getting.
But if you did a rebrand, so I guess there would still be people who would see through it, of course. But a lot of vegans get really excited when there's a new restaurant that opens up that it has a vegan menu,
Mm-hmm.
like a whole vegan section, or is it super vegan friendly? I get excited about that all the time. And so, if now you can feel like this new spot that is opening up that's super vegan forward,
mm-hmm.
you win the vegans over. I mean, of course, the ones who already know you and love the restaurant will be disappointed, but
this sounds eerily similar to changing something called a plant-based morning show into an outlier health podcast, Doug. Is there anything else going on here that I don't know about?
I mean, what if, say you have this really great podcast that people love, that people are dedicated to, they show up every day. There's this loyal group of people, but we're just not growing at the rate that we would really like to be growing at. And on the other side, we have this other feed that people are already subscribed to. They already live there. What if we're able to just softly convert what? No.
I mean, sure sounds like you've thought about this before. All right, scrolling down on the article on Richmond.com is something that I saw yesterday but did not include in the story. And that's that in Richmond, Hopcraft Pizza named one of the best vegan pizzas in the U.S. by Peta, who put out a list of 10 vegan pizzas. And I thought, when I go to Richmond next, which every now and then I do for soccer reasons, I need to go to this. It's the Hopcraft Pizza and Beer. And when I saw what the pizza was, I became less interested, Doug. So listen to this. This is up your alley, I think. The Pickleback Pizza, it's called. So they have a vegan pizza, and I don't think it's a vegan place. It's just a vegan pizza, and their vegan pizza is this. House-made red sauce, udderless plant-based cheese. That's a brand, udderless. I don't know that, but there's one. Dill pickles, soy chorizo, and a swirl of hot pepper relish on a white sesame seed crust.
Yes, please.
You think that's pretty good?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Even the pickles?
I mean,
I like
it sounds unusual, but I would definitely try it.
Yeah. Well, the reason I would try it is because it got this thing. I think if I saw that on the menu and there was no hype around it, I'm pretty sure there's no way I'd get that pizza, because I would say that's just too much terrible stuff. I mean, a terrible combination of stuff, but I'm guessing it's really, really good because it got this.
Mm-hmm. Kate said that's a hamburger trying to be a pizza. Sounds about right.
Yeah, it is. So anyway, if I get to Richmond, I will give that one a try, and I will report back.
British is on board. Sign me up, pickles. Did you see, this is kind of a side note, but related to the vegan restaurant, and a very successful vegan restaurant, I assume, just because it's hard to get a reservation. Plant, my favorite, I think our favorite in Nashville, maybe.
Yep.
James Sellers, the chef.
That's not the chef I know. Jason Sellers.
Jason Sellers. Yes.
Yep.
Jason was nominated for a James Beard Award, Best Chef Southeast.
Oh, wow. Good for him.
So that's cool. Best chef at a vegan restaurant. Awesome.
Very good. He has a few recipes in the No Meat Athlete original book. He contributed 3 recipes to that back when Plant was a tiny little establishment. And I asked him to do that, and he did. So that'd be great.
You should stamp a little sticker on there. It says recipes.
James Beard Award winner.
He didn't win. I don't think. He's just nominated. But
okay. So I think we still deserve that little foil James Beard stamp on our book.
Definitely. Mr. Jeffrey would tie that pizza 10 out of 10. Would try.
He would. Yeah, of course he would.
Mm-hmm. We'd share it. I would share that pizza with Mr. Jeffrey.
Well, there you go. There's your East Coast meetup then. You and Mr. Jeffrey go to Richmond Hop, whatever it's called. Get some pizza and beer.
Hey, the Hornets are on a streak right now. Two wins in a row.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yesterday we mentioned Lewis Hamilton and Neat Burger rebranding to Neat. And I was going to ask you what happened to that fandom. You were like this big F1 racing guy for a week or two. And then I thought, this sounds like the Hornets thing. He's probably decided he was going to be a fan of a sport. And then watch a few highlights.
I'm still an F1 fan. It's just off season right now. Big Lewis Hamilton news. I've been wanting to bring this up.
It's been a year since you talked about it. They had to have the season in there.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I can't talk about F1 all the time. But I've been wanting to bring this Lewis Hamilton news up. He's leaving Mercedes next year, going to Ferrari. So that's big news.
That is. I'm sure it is. Good. Okay. Well, there you go. You've proved it. You still are into it. Good for you. Britters is 2 weeks till the 2024 season. She knows too.
Ooh, what team are you, Britters? Who's your team?
All right. In the meantime, Gregory Green, I think that's a new commenter. I don't know. 3 insightful comments here. Says that the Califia Farm sounds like a version of Fairlife milk. So good. Didn't know about that. Chocolate bunnies were in grocery stores a week ago. Getting ready for Easter. And finally, in a struggling economy, it's not surprising. Restaurants have to appeal to the broadest population. And that's exactly what's happening. That's what they're saying is going on here, that they just can't do it. So yeah, maybe it's an economics or an economy thing, not a collapse of veganism thing. And they're just temporarily shifting. And at some point in richer times, we'll We'll move back to the luxury of niche restaurants. Who knows? We'll see. All right, there's your weather report. Didn't leave much time for our discussion, which it deserves a little time, but we'll see how it goes. The headline from Plant-Based News is one that I passed on a week ago. It came out on February 7th, and it's stop using misleading ultra-processed label, says new report. The term is causing confusion and harming trust in plant-based meats, the report states. So, like I said, I wasn't that interested at first because there aren't really new facts here, but then I saw another article today on Green Queen that had some stats that I did find interesting. So I'm going to read those and then we'll just jump into this discussion. What happened is a new survey happened by EIT Food Consumer Observatory over, 17 countries, almost 10,000 people in the survey. And what they found is that 65% of Europeans believe UPF, that's ultra-processed foods, are unhealthy, and 60% think they're bad for the environment. And when it comes to plant-based meat, their association with ultra-processed or ultra-processing deters 54% of Europeans from buying them. So, that stat would be magnified in the United States. I think there'd be many more people who won't buy processed or plant-based meats because they are ultra-processed. No one is denying, not even in these articles who are defending them, they're not denying that these plant-based meats are ultra-processed. They definitely fit the definition of being made with, ingredients that aren't found in a standard domestic kitchen, being made for profit, being made in factories. These things are there's different definitions of ultra-processed foods, but these things typically are what it entails. There's some confusion though, because people who are buying other ultra-processed foods in the same survey, they said they don't realize that like plant-based milks, for example, oat milk, or some of the breads they're buying or plant-based cheeses, they like half as many people are considering those ultra-processed foods. So that's the first bit of confusion is that the meats are ultra-processed, but the other plant-based stuff and even some of the non-plant-based foods are not ultra-processed. To me, like that just points to this campaign from the meat industry, which is certainly, I don't think anyone would deny that there's been one, a lot of TV ads and marketing and things about unpronounceable ingredients and things. And generally they're targeting the plant-based meats. So that campaign has been effective if you're measuring by, how much people believe that is ultra-processed food.
Right. Yeah. It's telling. It's also telling. I would imagine that people don't associate ultra-processed meats with ultra-processed either.
Like bacon and stuff like that they would say that's not.
Yeah, like bacon or
right.
Some sort of salami or something like that. Like that they probably don't think of that as being ultra-processed in the same way that they think of a plant-based meat. But this is the problem, right? Is that there are a lot of plant-based meats and plant-based meat alternatives that are not very processed, like that are mostly tofu, or of course they are processed, to some level, but not nearly in the same way.
They're still ultra-processed foods. That's the thing, and we'll get to that point in a minute. That the person who's making this argument that inspired this plant-based news article is basically saying the ultra-processed label is not very indicative of healthfulness. It tells you that something has some preservatives added to it and was made in a factory, but it, like you just kind of said, Doug, like there's lots of ranges even within ultra-processed foods of how bad they are.
So what do you think? Does this mean that we shouldn't have a war on ultra-processed, or that all ultra-processed, even minimally ultra-processed, is bad?
Right. That's the big question, and I don't have a good answer. But that's what this article in Plant-Based News is about. It's really worth checking out. Again, it's called "Stop Using Misleading Ultra-Processed Label." The person there is basically saying that. So, I mean, what we know from some of the recent research that is pro health benefits, or I guess pro plant-based meats as far as health goes, that plant-based meat UPFs are not linked, at least in the one study, to these long-term illnesses like cardiovascular disease, I think diabetes, and maybe certain cancers. They just didn't have the link that other types of processed foods do. So that's a nice positive thing for an argument. We've also seen that swap meat study that Christopher Gardner did, where they compared regular meat to Beyond Meat. It was sponsored by Beyond Meat, this study, so you got to acknowledge that. But he's a pretty good researcher. He's the guy who did the "You Are What You Eat" documentary and the study in that. But anyway, they found there that going on the Beyond Meat for 8 weeks and then going over to the regular meat, or vice versa, showed that the Beyond Meat was in the short term more associated with positive health changes. I don't remember exactly what they were, but it's like there is some evidence that this stuff when you sort of zoom in, is healthy, or at least not unhealthy, healthier than meat.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you kind of back up and say, wouldn't it be better just to have a rule that says, like, eat the foods that are whole and don't eat the ones that aren't? Like, I guess I feel like we were making really great progress when Michael Pollan put out the Omnivore's Dilemma, and then whatever that then follow-up was, the Eater's Manifesto. I forget exactly what it was called. But he had the eat food, not too much, mostly plants. He simplified things. He said, don't eat anything your grandmother wouldn't recognize as food. Don't eat anything that has more than 5 ingredients in it, et cetera, et cetera. And to me, like, that still kind of rings true as like the closest we've had to really good health advice that everyone can understand, and it's simple, and like it doesn't sound too hard to actually do, and kind of sounds appealing. It doesn't sound like a big restrictive diet you have to follow. Like, I thought that was the beginning of us getting it when it comes to food. This person is arguing basically that's not right. And like, just because something's processed doesn't mean it's bad. These things can still be part of our diets. And more importantly, I think they have to be. That it is classist and a bunch of other things, adjectives, to, say that everyone should cook their own food and just eat ultra processed things, when the reality is that people have to eat processed foods. So let's stop saying ultra processed is unhealthy, and let's distinguish between what's good and bad ultra processed.
Yeah, but how do you do that? I mean, that's like almost impossible to do, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, long-term studies, like the thing that said plant-based ultra-processed foods are not associated with long-term cardiovascular disease, cancer. It's just, I have trouble believing that. Like, one study that says that, I mean, I didn't look that, I guess I did at the time. I don't remember how long a term that study was done over. It just seems like the stuff's all too new to really believe that.
Yeah.
I don't know. So like, yeah, hundreds of years from now, we might be able to say, okay, we can see that this stuff actually is not an unhealthy thing. And then we can believe it, but what to do now? I don't know.
But I mean, like, don't you think there has to be a way to kind of categorize the ultra processed foods? I mean, there's whole, and then there's minimally processed, which is like tofu, right? And then there's ultra processed, which would be anything from a Beyond Burger or an Oreo to I don't know, like a tofurkey thing that's just mostly tofu, but has some flavors added and some preservatives added, right? And to me, there's a really big difference there. There's something that has a whole bunch of added fat, and a whole bunch of added sodium and all this other stuff. That is hard to argue that is a health food. It might be healthier than the meat alternative or the meat version. And, you could argue that, and I would probably agree with you, but it's hard to argue that is a health food. Whereas something that is still labeled ultra processed or considered ultra processed, but is much less processed, has a lot less of the added fat, added sodium, added preservatives, even if it has some, like that, I would say is a health food, or certainly healthier than the meat version.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, there has to be a way for us to be able to differentiate between the two, right? Or because if you label all plant meat or all plant-based products that that aren't natural and a whole food as ultra processed, then I get it. I get why people would want to stay away from that, because ultra processed is being demonized so much, and associated, as plant-based news is saying, that people say ultra processed plant meats, ultra processed plant meats. Like those two words now go with plant meats all the time. You see that everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I think it's not hard to imagine, there'd be certainly lots of arguing over it, but it's not hard to imagine some sort of numerical score that would be given to the foods based on all these things. You look at long-term studies of, different things and how processed something is. So, that gets a say in the score. You also get the like actual, much more basic look at the nutrition facts of the thing. And what do we know about high carb, high fat things compared to others? Like I said, there's gonna be plenty of argument about that, but you could think they could make a little scale, an index that says how, and then start to study that. And then also help people make healthy choices, right? Like assign the red light, yellow light, green light system based on the score within there. And that's not as nice as don't eat it if your grandmother wouldn't have eaten it, but if it's don't eat it if it has a red light, that you can imagine that being perhaps a more practical solution for people who really can't manage to not eat anything that their grandmother wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good point.
but then, Mr. Jeffrey also makes a good point here. My grandmother wouldn't recognize an avocado, but would recognize Oreos. She passed at 97. My grandmother was probably the same way. She passed at 94. I think that like there is this over demonization. I've been thinking a lot about this, about, like optimal longevity, like what is the very best thing I can do for my health span versus like what doesn't really matter that much, like how can I live my life to where I'm taking, I'm really promoting a longevity lifestyle, but but I'm also not like obsessing over little things that aren't going to make a huge difference, like eating an Oreo once a week or whatever.
Right.
Right, like ultra processed foods can always in my opinion, can fit into a healthy lifestyle, just as long as they're not, it's not 100% of your diet or even the majority of your diet. But, but I think that Plant-Based News or whoever wrote the article is probably right that like that's coming from a place of privilege, being able to have access to a bunch of different foods and whole foods and fresh vegetables and stuff like that. So, I don't know how beneficial it is to demonize all ultra processed foods versus being able to, talk about which ones are better for you and talk about how to use them in a way that that can be helpful.
Yeah, right. And that's a good point that this gets into like, because I don't know, for me personally, like I guess I'm going to go on believing that in general, ultra processed foods are not healthy. But I also recognize that like from a public health point of view, that's probably not a reasonable message to tell people if everyone thinks this is the only way to eat going forward, the only practical way we can eat in a way that's also sustainable and affordable going forward, then it's not that helpful to tell people that don't eat anything your grandmother wouldn't have recognized, or your great grandmother, if Mr. Jeffrey prefers that one. Because I do think the grandmother thing it's actually too recent for most people our age now when you talk about their grandmothers, because you're right, Oreos were around by then. And so were a lot of other junk foods. So there you go. No conclusion, I guess. Hello to Garuda Legends, who's just showed up. Garuda, we missed it. Would have been good to have your opinion on the processed meat stories and the cultivated meat stories, because we've that has disappeared from menus, and I don't know if I can say what Garuda's take is on cultivated meat. I can guess what it would be, but I don't know if I have seen him express that. So anyway, we'll be back tomorrow. Hope you will too, Garuda, and everyone else.
And everyone else.
Everyone else as well. Yeah. Anything else? Gregory Green points out one more time. Again, thanks for the comments, Gregory Green. Plant meats are stuck in the middle. Vegans look down at it, and non-vegans will never be satisfied with it. Who's left for a market? Yeah, I mean, we've had that discussion a lot. I don't know what the future of this plant-based meat, this type of meat is, because of issues like this. We don't know who actually wants it, and it looks like not that many people. On that positive note, we're gonna go. Doug, you already told me your Valentine's plan. So I hope you enjoy your Valentine's Day. Hope your daughters aren't too upset that they don't get little hearts like the rest of their friends probably have, because their dad didn't wait till the last minute to go get the stuff. You're gonna need to dress up as Turbo Man and save the day. That's how you'll win their love back.
Okay, well, I got a lot of work to do. I got a lot to figure out, so we better wrap this up. Okay. I forgot. I got a message from Anne-Marie. We were talking about her yesterday.
Yeah.
But
where she went.
Yeah, whether she was influenced by Forks Over Knives and how she went plant-based. And she wrote me. She said she's in Connecticut visiting her parents. She's not watching, but I came to a plant-based diet after I was injured from a vaccine and went to a functional medicine doctor. He put me on a whole food plant-based diet, and I never went back. I didn't start watching documentaries until after I started working with him. I knew nothing about the whole food plant-based diet until I met him. So there you go.
Okay, there it is. All right, good. That's it. Thanks for coming, everyone. Thanks for the comments. As always, this was fun. Continues to be fun. Tomorrow's Thursday, so it will be even more fun. And then we're out of here. And then we haven't talked about it. 3-day weekend, I think, right? For our company, we're off Monday.
We are. That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
So you only did have 1 week of, no, you had 2 weeks of work.
2 weeks.
But only one where you weren't headed into a 3-day weekend. So this was a full week, but it's a different full week because you're headed into 3-day weekend.
And I've got a good weekend. I got a good weekend ahead of me.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Well, you can tell us about it tomorrow, because that'll get us, that'll kick us off and get the show going. All right.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you
Okay.
soon.
Goodbye.